What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to my channel, The Nerdy Narrative, a channel about my adventures in reading. Today's adventures is going to cover my last few weeks of reading, actually, because I did miss one Friday update because I was in Las Vegas. We went to see U2 play at the Sphere. We had a great time. I was so curious as to how this Sphere was going to look on the inside, how it was going to work with the concert. I do have to admit I prefer seeing U2 in an outdoor setting, but I would like to go back to the Sphere, and instead of getting seats, I would much rather get into the general admission area. I just like being where I can move around and do things. Everybody in the seats were just sitting there except for the last couple of songs, and then everybody was up. In fact, I would have never seen them, period, except that they are my husband's favorite band, and ever since he took me to one show, I've been a huge fan of seeing them live ever since. There is just something about seeing this band in particular live that's just unmatched. They are the best band I have ever seen live. We met up with some of Chris's friends that live in the area, and one of them is a horror fan like me and mentioned that there was a haunted museum that's owned by Bagans that was down the street, and of course we had to go and do the tour, and that was so much fun. So my first trip to Vegas was very exciting. We definitely want to go back, get outside the city and do some sightseeing of Red Rock, the Grand Canyon, all of that sort of thing. Just get out and about and have some fun. Vegas wasn't the only excitement since the last time I talked to y'all. I am also very excited to give a huge welcome and shout out to two new top tier patrons for the Nerdy Narrative. That is Star, who's actually been a patron for a very, very long time, upgraded to the top tier level. The other is a completely brand new member of the family. That is Sarah. I want to thank you guys so much for your support. It is such an incredible feeling when someone wants to help support what you're doing and they don't have to. They choose to do it. It's an indescribable feeling, which is probably why I like the found family trope in books so much. Speaking of books, we have a lot to talk about because it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these, so let's get to it, shall we? I did read my Joan Didion essay for the month of November. It's called Bureaucrats. It was highly enjoyable. It's about the California Department of Transportation. More specifically, the 42-mile loop that's made up of the three highways, Santa Monica, San Diego, and I think the third one is called the Harbor Freeway. Don't quote me on that, but these freeways on a daily basis see so much traffic. Even back when Joan wrote this, which was late 70s. The people who commute on these freeways, they know these freeways. They know I need to leave at this time, I'm going to be in this much traffic, and I'm going to get to work at this time. They've got it figured out. Then you have the California Department of Transportation. There's just these people in a room that look at this stuff and they're like, you know, maybe we need to do this, this, and this. You know how it is. Fixing something that isn't broken, and just a couple of things that they tried that just made the traffic even more snarled, and Joan's writing about it and being snarky about it because who likes traffic? Nobody likes traffic. Why would you go and mess with it? I enjoyed this one very much. I started this one right before we went to Vegas. I had to take it with me. I could not let this one go until I got back. I was reading it every day. Even though we were in Vegas on vacation, I still managed to find a couple of hours each day to read this book. It was amazing. Another 5-star hit for me. I do have a full non-spoiler written review that I'll have linked in the description below. In fact, all of the books I'm going to talk about here today, I'll have linked down below. So if you want to read their book descriptions, get more information, see some other reviews by other people who read them, all of that's going to be down there for you. This one is about a child named Henry. Henry is 9 years old and he has suffered the tragic loss of both of his parents. Now, the circumstances with which he lost his father did result in a huge settlement that's in a trust fund for Henry. And due to the nature of all these events, of course there was press coverage, and it catches the attention of a criminal mastermind. I'm talking to the kind of criminal who takes years to plan and set up, and we get to go along for that. I really enjoyed seeing just the minute minute planning, the slow execution of this abduction of this child that they're going to hold for ransom to try and get that $2 million trust fund. When I started this one, I was still riding that 5-star high of Philip Fracasse's newest release, Boys in the Valley. And I had a feeling that there was going to be some sort of supernatural element involved, and I was right. This one starts off as a crime thriller mystery novel, but it has supernatural horror elements that get introduced that just lend to that slow buildup of suspense, dread, fear. You know something's going to happen, but you don't know when. And then things happen that make you think, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe nothing's going to happen. Oh my goodness. Every time I thought I had a character figured out and pegged, Philip Fracasse would flip the script on me. I loved being completely thrown off balance time and time again with this one. I highly recommend this author. I'm not just gonna say this book, I'm gonna say this author. I've already picked out my next read by this guy. It's gonna be Gothic. So just go ahead and know you're gonna be hearing a lot about Philip Fracasse on this channel. I plan to read all of his work. My next read was Gollum by P.D. Oliva. This one does tie into his newest release, which was Jiggly Spot and the Zero Intellect. I read recently, I reviewed it. I have a video review that I'll put in the cards for you. I really enjoyed that one. Even though it had so many things in it that I would not typically think I'm going to enjoy this, when they are written as well as P.D. Oliva wrote all of those things, like this guy can write psychological horror so well. What is Gollum about? We get to meet John Ashton on one of the most proud days of his life, the day that he makes detective at the New York Police Department. When his boss hands him that shiny new detective badge, he also hands him his first case. Actually, it's more of a follow-up on a case that has run cold. The daughter of the district attorney has been missing for quite some time. A few days prior, the newspaper had run an article about the child and included a photo, which led to this new lead. Elena Franken has called and said she has seen this child, she knows who has this child. The only problem is Elena is currently a resident of Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital. So John's boss is like, you know what, this is no big deal. You're just gonna go down there, you're gonna take a statement, you're gonna follow up on whatever she says, and then we're just gonna close this out. Sounds pretty open and shut, doesn't it? That's what John thinks, but when he gets there and talks to Elena, she tells John that she sculpted this statue, brought it to life, and now this statue is running around kidnapping children and using them to be hosts for demons. I really enjoyed getting some history on a certain place that is in Gollum. I really loved getting to meet a character that is alluded to in Jiggly Spot and the Zero Intellect, and I really enjoyed the story. I do feel that there's a section where Elena is telling all of her story to the detective. That went on for a very, very long time, and I got a little bored with that part. There wasn't enough action for the slow pacing, if that makes any type of sense. But it was still a good book. It's one that I will reread because I do think the author is writing more about some of these characters in future books, and I am absolutely in for that. I finally finished my reread of book 10 of the Wheel of Time series, Crossroads of Twilight. You could legitimately skip this book and not miss anything. With as repetitious as Robert Jordan is, anything of importance that occurred here is going to be repeated in the next 4 books anyway. It wasn't a terrible book. It's not my least favorite in the series. It's just very slow moving, and I read it very slowly. It's just very easy to lose interest in this one because there's not really any action. It's just Elaine trying to secure the throne of Andor. Honestly, there are some other interesting bits from other characters, but they're so infrequent that you can just forget they're even there. So that one's over, thank goodness. Oh, another book that I don't have a physical copy of here yet, I read the advanced reader copy for, was J.C.M. Burns' newest release, Partial Function. In my written review, I compared the main character, Akina Azure, to John Wick, because John Wick was a former hitman that comes back into the criminal underground after someone kills his dog. Partial Function is the story of Akina Azure. She is a knight errant, a member of the Five Fae Bangs, who has gone into hiding for the last 10 to 15 years. She got married, she had twin daughters. The only reason why she has resurfaced is because her daughters were taken. They were taken by a man known as the Reaver. This individual is known as the Reaver because of the type of forbidden magic that he has been using, which has corrupted him. While Lakina does not have the marksmanship of John Wick, what she does have is the Millennium Key. This is a very powerful martial arts weapon. The legacy that is this weapon has been passed down through the bloodline of Akina's family for generations, multiple generations, and each time it's passed down, all of the power that came before it comes with it. And this weapon has been passed down to Akina from her grandfather. In addition to this powerful weapon that is the Millennium Key, Akina has also achieved the rank of master of the Infinity Bagua technique. This technique is a mathematical fighting style that combines the Bagua style of training by walking in circles with using an infinity symbol. Research shows that physical therapy and training, walking while fixing your eyes on a point in the distance while walking in an infinity circle, has some sort of beneficial effect on you for this style of training. It was so creative of the author to combine these styles to create such a new, unique, interesting, enjoyable to read about fighting style. There was tons of action and fighting. I was loving every minute of it. The author really delivered on writing great characters, lots of humor, lots of great moments and interactions. Without a doubt, my favorite character was a dog named Dog. Y'all just gonna have to read this book. It was so good, so enjoyable. It was written as a standalone, but I am holding out hope that it gets turned into a series. I need you all to go read this book and start helping me hound the author for more from these characters, this world. These characters are just too good to only get one book. I know if you read this book, you're absolutely going to agree with me. I have one more that I finished since the last time I talked to y'all. That is Travis Baldrey's Bookshops and Bone Dust. I've been talking about this book, telling y'all how excited I've been to read it. I've been calling it a sequel. It's actually a prequel. It takes place, I think, around 20 years before Legends and Lattes. As soon as I saw the word prequel, I got a little worried. I thought, what if I don't like reading a story about Viv before she was who she was when she opened Legends and Lattes? My next concern was my favorite character from Legends and Lattes was Thimble. Well, if it's a prequel, I know he's not going to be in there, and I'm going, oh man, what am I going to do without my favorite character? But then I thought, I wonder what food we're going to get described here, the scents. And I tabbed, y'all can see, I tabbed the stuffing out of this book. I tabbed all the times I saw really good food describe the scent of it. I was tabbing it. While Legends and Lattes was all about coffee and cinnamon rolls and pastries, this one is savory foods, breakfast, and bread. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm a Southern girl. I treat bread like it's a dessert. I love it, and the more butter, the better. This man is a master at describing the scents of food. I want to know how much time he spent going in restaurants, bakeries, cafes, just smelling all of this stuff and being able to describe it to perfection. The man has some sort of sorcery. I lovingly say there's no magic in this story. The magic is the story, because I don't know how Travis Baldrey writes such endearing characters, such wonderful character interactions. And then in this one, we don't have a coffee shop, we have a bookshop. Y'all, this book, I think I actually love more than Legends and Lattes. There's a quote in here that one of the characters says, every book is a little mirror, and sometimes you look into it and see someone else looking back. Travis Baldrey stopped looking in a book and instead looked at those holding the books, readers like you and me. He looked at us and the joy of discovering a new story, a new world, being transported somewhere else. He looked at the booksellers, the joy they got from putting the right book in the right hands, and he wrote about it, and it was perfect. It was perfect. This book is written for book lovers. I am just absolutely in love with the series. In fact, Legends and Lattes, Bookshops and Bone Dust, both of these are going on my annual reread list. This time of year too. This is the perfect time of year. I think every year in November, December, or you know what? What I should do is read this one in December, and then January read Legends and Lattes to battle, you know, that holiday depression, like after you take all your Christmas decorations down, how everything's kind of naked and bare, the holidays are over, we all kind of have that winter depression. I think that would be a great time to reread these books that make us feel some kind of way. That's what I'm gonna do. And then that brings us into what am I currently working on? I started T. Kingfisher's Thorn Hedge. I only got one chapter in. I don't know if y'all are like this, but anytime I start a new T. Kingfisher novel, it takes me at least one chapter to get into the flow of her prose. I don't know why, but that first chapter is always very difficult for me. I have to read it very slowly. I end up rereading a lot of the sentences, just trying to get into the flow of the prose. And it's very difficult for me for some reason. I don't know what it is. It's just T. Kingfisher that I've noticed that I have this problem. Just to start though, once I get to the end of the first chapter, I'm good to go. And this first chapter had a really good ending. I wanted to read more, but it was too late. And I'm like, dang it, I'll have to get to this one tomorrow. So I'm very excited to see if I'm going to love this one as much as I have loved all of her other works. I don't care if it's fantasy or horror. I love this author's writing. Typically, we'll see how this one goes. And this morning I picked up and started The Warrior by Jim Butcher. That is a short story, or actually I think it's a novelette. It is part of the Dresden Files. I am doing a big reread of all of the novels, but I'm also including the graphic novels and the short stories, just doing a complete read of everything Dresdenverse to get ready for that next book coming out probably next year. I'm thinking early 2025, might be late 2024. We'll have to wait and see, but I'll be long done by then. But I think I made it about halfway through this particular story with my coffee this morning. As soon as I finish that one, I'm gonna go right into the next short story, which is called Curses, and then I have my next two graphic novels before I get back to my novels. And then to quickly wrap this up with what I am going to read next, after I finish Thorn Hedge, I think I'll have time to sneak in Nick Stevenson's Nethergeist. This is the first book in a new series by this author. I think I can read this one before we leave. We're gonna leave on Monday to go home and visit for Thanksgiving. I feel pretty sure I can read this one before we go. I just need to know about this necromancer named Emperor Goat. I gotta know what this is all about, y'all. This one has been sitting over here tickling my fancy for weeks now. I can't wait to find out. I'm gonna tell you all about it. I don't believe it actually publishes until December, so plenty of time for me to get this one read, talk about it, see if it's one you might be interested in. And since I'm traveling and I don't like taking physical books because I don't want to damage them, it's a great time for me to get into the final book in Kareem Solomon's series. I can't wait to see how this is going to end. But the final book in the trilogy is called Reign of Demons. I want to say it's a pretty good chunker, close to 700 pages, so that should absolutely keep me busy while I'm gone for the week. Should I finish it before we come home, never fear, my friends, my Kindle is packed to the gills with plenty of other stuff that I can read. That is going to end this insanely long reading wrap up of all the things that I have read since the last time I talked to y'all. I missed 2 Fridays of updating about my reads. I'm gonna miss next Friday because I'm gonna be in Mississippi. Thank you all so much for being here. I am so grateful to each and every one of you that pop in here, watch these videos, chat about books with me, recommend me books. Thank you so much for making my life so much better. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. For those of you in the US celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you have a wonderful week. Don't forget to take a minute and think about all of the wonderful things that have happened over this past year that you are thankful thankful for. Sometimes things happen and we don't appreciate or see the value in them until everything shakes out in the end, just like in so many of the wonderful books that we love to read. Have a great one, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.